INFINIUM Valve Life Multiplier. Finally, the quest for a perfect valve power amp setup is not an expert job any longer. Michael Rapole is here to introduce a new era of ultimate performance and reliability.
Hi, I'm Michael Rapole here to talk about BUGERA's INFINIUM Tube Life Multiplier technology, which will change the way guitarists look at tube amps and amplifier maintenance. We'll talk about the main terms you should understand, why this used to be an issue, why BUGERA INFINIUM users can forget about biasing right away, what can affect a tube's typical lifespan, and when servicing is required, it usually does not come for free. Understand the multitude of ways INFINIUM technology pays for itself. Aside from safety and ease of use, what are the new creative options you get with INFINIUM technology? How can you get a hold of this breakthrough technology? Valves, also referred to as electron or vacuum tubes, are amplifying components that were developed in the early years of the last century. Nowadays, in the vast majority of applications, valves have been replaced with solid-state transistors or diodes, which are smaller, more efficient, more reliable, and cheaper. We keep using valves in guitar amps for one good reason: tone, tone, and more tone. The most common valve types are the 6L6 and EL34 varieties, as well the lower power EL84. 6L6s are the main output tubes used in American amps, while EL34 and 84 tubes are typically found in British-style amps. Valves or tubes consist of a glass cylinder with plate, grids, and other components that amplify the sound of your guitar. Since they are made of glass and generate lots of heat, they are somewhat fragile and their performance can degrade over time. For proper operation, valves have to be of good quality, should match each other's performance, and need to have proper biasing. A skilled technician typically does this, and that costs money. Fortunately, BUGERA INFINIUM technology finally puts an end to all these variables, allowing you to use any compatible tube without the need for matching, biasing, or hiring a technician. Most amplifiers operate in a push-pull configuration, meaning one is driven with the positive half of the signal, and the other is driven by the negative half. Whenever the amplifying component, either tube or transistor, remains conductive for the vast majority of input signals, the amplifier is said to be Class A. Push-pull amplifiers allow biasing in both modes, Class A and Class AB. In Class AB, the tubes alternate work for considerable enhanced efficiency, less heat, and more power. This means each of the tubes in a Class AB configuration conducts the signal only for a part of the time, typically about 60%. So depending on the actual idle current setup, the same push-pull amp can be run in Class A or Class AB. As mentioned earlier, even tubes of the same type can have considerably different behavior, not to mention EL34 and 6L6 that have different specs. Typically, you would have to pay a premium for a set of matched tubes. Unfortunately, even a matched set that performs perfectly today may not perform perfectly a year from now. The process of setting the idle current for an amp is called biasing. In modern valve amps, this is normally done by feeding a specific constant voltage to the tube's control grids, while monitoring the actual current through the tubes. The same fixed bias voltage is typically applied to all power tubes in an amp, so in the likely event that some tubes are less precisely matched in the given set, applying the same voltage to them all will result in varying idle currents. For most amps, this is inevitable. Owners of BUGERA INFINIUM don't have to worry about all of this. because all power tubes in their amps will automatically and individually be biased correctly, always. Delicate internal construction and tolerances lead to the varying parameters. Mechanical impact, especially in hot state, can change the tube's behavior or even break it. Defects in gas tightness can spoil the vacuum over time. Excessive heat can also free gas atoms from surfaces inside the tube and destroy the internal elements. All tubes will degrade over time, and their performance characteristics will change as well. Tube failure can occur in several ways. In the case of partial or complete shorts, other components in the amplifier can burn. Repair can be really expensive, and it could cost a lot. When individual tubes of a previously matched set change their behavior, the amp will lose power and sound performance. No matter what causes the failure, it is not always obvious which tube has failed and needs to be replaced. You would probably have to take your amp to the repair shop and pay a tech to fix it. If one or more tubes are identified for replacement, a technician is required to set it up, costing more money. Very often, the technician will recommend a complete new matched set, and this can be really expensive. And if you want to ensure your amp's tubes won't blow during your next gig or tour, you have to carry a spare matched set just to be on the safe side. As an example, let's say you have an amp with 4 6L6 GC tubes and you replace all the output tubes every year. That could cost more than $500 over 10 years. That's like buying a whole new amp. In standard tube power amp biasing designs, 95% of all customers face technical concerns they should not have to bother with at all, and they have to pay for services they cannot perform themselves, without any guarantee that their amp will be fully functional when they really need it most. Now, thanks to BUGERA INFINIUM valve amplifiers, all these concerns are eliminated once and for all. Every single power tube in your amp is continuously steered towards its perfect bias point, compensating for variations in the main supply as well as internal tolerances and aging effects. You will never again have to pay a technician for biasing setup. Since INFINIUM keeps each tube set to its ideal bias point, you can mix and match any compatible tubes you have on hand. You will never again have to pay for expensive matched tube sets. If you discover a tube is broken at soundcheck, you can easily exchange it with any spare tube you have, even 5 minutes before the gig, and still be sure your amp will perform perfectly. You are free to explore unprecedented creative options by using a mix of 5881, EL34, and 6L6 tubes all at the same time. INFINIUM technology allows you to mix very different tubes in the same amplifier, which can open up a completely new tonal palette. You can now create your own signature sound. By ensuring the tubes never run hotter than they should, INFINIUM automatic biasing technology can multiply the life of your power valve set by as much as 20 times. Basically, if you play a couple of gigs each week, you may never have to replace the tubes in your BUGERA INFINIUM amp over a 20-year period. In the unlikely event that a tube wears out prematurely and cannot be biased properly anymore, the INFINIUM valve life monitoring LEDs will show you exactly which one needs to be replaced. Also, in the case of severe internal damage, the INFINIUM valve life monitor will identify the faulty tube for you. INFINIUM valve life multiplier technology is exclusive to BUGERA valve, guitar, and bass amplifier. Look for the new INFINIUM series of heads and combos at your favorite music dealer. In addition to this new technology, we've also thrown in some other cool upgrades. such as chassis screw-mounted potentiometers, improved internal high current connectivity, stylish new vinyl covering, and a comfortable top-grade leather handle. Visit your authorized BUGERA dealer today to find out how INFINIUM series amps can make all the difference in your tone. The future is here, and it is INFINIUM.